Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of I Can Do This All Day. I'm Dan, the part-time Avenger, and that is Mark, the resident Jedi.
Hello there. Today we have a reason to get together and rank and talk about movies and upcoming things and Pedro Pascal. And that thing is a new Fantastic Four movie.
I am not a big fan of the Fantastic Four in general. I never was a huge comic book Fantastic Four fan. I was more X-Men and Avengers. But it has a big following, and there have been, so far, 4 different iterations of the movie, one of them unreleased, and then with the upcoming Fantastic Four First Steps, that will be the 5th cinematic masterpiece, if you will. Hopefully it's a masterpiece for Marvel. But yeah, I'm kind of curious as to what your origin story is with the Fantastic Four and the movies, along with your comic book fandom in general.
Yeah, my initial Fantastic Fourness was probably the Spider-Man cartoon back in the day. I'm pretty sure they had their own show for a while there.
Yep, they did.
As well. So they're a little bit in the comics, never got into that book specifically, basically because Doctor Doom always seems stupid to me. I'm gonna get a lot of hate for that, by the way. Bring it on. Bring on the hate. But in general, never really got into the Fantastic Four. And then Jessica Alba was in the movie. And for those that don't remember, when the 2005 Fantastic Four came out, Jessica Alba was at the top of her game at that point. So was game to see that. And it had everybody's favorite Captain America, Chris Evans, in it. So we were all good. It was not another teen movie in idle hands altogether. So I saw that, pretty sure, in theaters. I can't say that for either of the next ones. But yeah, I kind of knew of them, but was not the biggest Fantastic Four fan. Was still X-Men and Spidey. What about you?
I mean, for me, the whole reasoning as to why I didn't like the Fantastic Four is there were better, sexier, more adventurous and cooler characters. You know, Avengers, a ton of people in their little faction. X-Men, a ton of people in their faction. Fantastic Four, there's 4 of them. And depending on which combination of Fantastic Four that you're looking at, like, yeah, there's a She-Hulk in there. There's even a Wolverine and a Hulk in there as well. But I think Ghost Rider was actually part of like the new Fantastic Four or something. But I didn't care until they started doing stuff like that, where they started weaving in other people. Because to me, the Thing just was not as strong as the Hulk. And so, like, why even bother? Like, that, what's the point? So I also will probably get a lot of hate for this, because there's a lot of people who are very devout Fantastic Four followers, and they think Doctor Doom is the best villain ever. He very well could be. I just haven't read enough comics and seen enough of Doctor Doom as a villain where I'm like, oh wow, that's impressive. You know, the only Doctor Doom villains I've seen is basically from these movies and a little bit of Marvel Ultimate Alliance. In Marvel Ultimate Alliance, Doctor Doom was a badass villain, and it was really cool. He took over like a bunch of the heroes too, so it was menacing. But for everything in the movies, it just wasn't there for me. So I'm a victim of the lack of interest in the source material. And so when I see the movies, I don't know what are callbacks. I don't know. It doesn't matter to me because I'm just not that big of a fan. So that's where I'm at for the Fantastic Four. But like when we're talking about this, obviously we've got the new movie coming out. Do you want the movie to do well, and do you expect it to do well?
I don't know if I want it to do well or not. It can't not do better than the other ones, right? I want Marvel to do well because I want more superhero movies. It looks like they're going to do something cool, at least something original. Every time they've done kind of a period piece, it's come out pretty decent. Captain Marvel in the 80s was pretty good. First
90s.
Avenger was pretty good. WandaVision, where they did all the different time frames, was good. So they're good at period pieces, one would hope. So I have high expectations. I love seeing Pedro in it, but I don't have an emotional connection to any of the other actors that I'm aware of. I'm hoping at least it'll be decent. But to talk on one of the points that you brought up, about why is Marvel desirous that the Fantastic Four do well. I think that that group in and of itself has a dynamic that they bring to every connection, in that there's multiple that have a relationship that people can relate to, and they have the different powers all in one. So you don't even get an Avengers group together to get a Hulk, to get a Black Widow-esque person, to get, a Tony Stark, where we have to give them their own spotlight. Spotlights for all four. And you can do more in a plot, inter-team tension, as well as the fighting can be bigger because you've got a bigger group and you don't need to make it a crossover. But that being said, I don't know that they've ever really pulled it off well. The first one was okay, but it was the first one.
Well, what were your expectations for that first movie?
I think that we had so little from a superhero perspective, right? We had the Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans. That was about it, which were decent until 3. I was feeling okay. Like, the special effects were good. It went through the origin story, except for Doctor Doom in a way, completely outside of the norm from my understanding. So it was a
I'm gonna
movie.
say, yeah, I didn't have any expectations for Fantastic Four. I figured it would be fun, but because I wasn't a Fantastic Four fan, I wasn't going out to the movie theaters to watch it. But I will say, this might be a hot take, but Fantastic Four, the 2005 Evans, Michael Chiklis, Jessica Alba version of it, better than the first X-Men movie. Because
Yeah.
I did not like that first X-Men movie. It was cool for like a little bit, and there were parts I was like, "Oh, this is kind of interesting." But there were so many parts I was like, "This is boring. This is my X-Men movie." Ah, shit. I'll go play the 1992 Konami video game and just play that for hours instead of watch this piece of shit. So that's kind of what I was thinking about for the X-Men. Now, granted, X2 came back and totally redeemed itself, and I consider that one of the best X-Men movies. But yeah, the first Fantastic Four, I was pleasantly surprised because I liked Evans' humor in it. And before that, I didn't really know Chris Evans all that much. I don't even think I even saw Not Another Teen Movie at that particular point. So I wasn't like, oh yeah, that's the guy from Not Another Teen Movie. He's kind of funny. That's cool. Jessica Alba, yeah, she's kind of hot. And then, how do you pronounce the actor who played Reed Richards in the Fantastic Four movie? I don't know how to pronounce his name.
Ian Guffield.
I always thought it was Ian Gruffeld, but apparently it's maybe something else. I don't know.
Jan
Maybe I'm just making
Guffield.
stuff up. Yeah, give him a little bit of a twist of everything else. But after seeing Fantastic Four, the original one, did you have any expectations going into the second one, the Rise of the Silver Surfer?
I was stoked that they were going to do Galactus. They didn't really do it great, but they did it. So there's that. Um, and the Silver Surfer was cool that they did, because that's a hard one at the time. It was basically the T-1000 on a skateboard the whole time. But I think the second one really drew out the lack of chemistry in the cast. Don't make another one.
Yeah. With Rise of the Silver Surfer, the fact that they were putting the Silver Surfer in it, I was like, holy shit, that's gonna be badass. Because in my head, I pictured the Silver Surfer as one of like the best Marvel characters. Now, granted, I've only read like a couple of the Silver Surfer comics. It's all based off of Reputation and other media that Silver Surfer is portrayed in. So the fact that there was Silver Surfer video games on Nintendo, the fact that he's a surfer, so he's kind of cool just by brand association, right? Like, oh, he surfs, so he's got to be a cool guy. And that's where I was just like, okay, great. This movie is going to be awesome. And I didn't go to see it in theaters because I wasn't super hell bent on superhero movies like I am now. And so I rented it and I'm just like, this is okay. It was cool to see Lawrence Fishburne as the Silver Surfer. So I thought his voice was kind of like cool dynamic and it made sense for me. And he has like a very commanding voice. So it's like, great. It's almost like James Earl Jones is Darth Vader. You know what I mean? Like, if there would have been more Silver Surfer appearances and Lawrence Fishburne was the voice to play him, he would have been synonymous with it. I feel that confident that his performance, even though the movie itself wasn't that great, he did a great performance as Silver Surfer, and I would totally picture him being that voice over and over again.
Leave my Morpheus alone.
You didn't like him as the Silver Surfer?
Candidly, I didn't even remember it was him. That's how bad that movie was.
So when we talk about bad, um, if
You
you
want
could,
to talk about you want to talk about the newest one, don't you?
did you look at the IMDb or Rotten Tomatoes rankings for those movies?
Yeah, it's close between 1 and 2.
On the IMDb ranking, which I believe is the most accurate for most TV and movie ratings, 5.7 on the first one, and then 5.6 on the Rise of the Silver Surfer. I think those are pretty balls on accurate ratings for those movies. They're okay. They're serviceable, they're entertaining, but it's missing a lot of like what makes a movie a movie. I think that's where it is. Quality is that's about as quality of a superhero movie as we got up until
Yeah,
that point.
you're right. You're right. That was before like major directors got into it and studios put a lot behind it.
Yeah, so I saw those scores and I was kind of surprised by the Rotten Tomatoes scores, but I guess I shouldn't be because Rotten Tomatoes sucks anyways. But the IMDb was like, yeah, okay. I understand where it fell within my wheelhouse of ranking movies because I'm usually pretty aligned with that. And usually like that five or six rating is like take it or leave it. Like watch it if you have time. Don't go out of your way to watch it, but hey, you'll at least it'll be entertaining and you're not going to want to turn the movie off 30 minutes in. That's kind of my rating for like the five or sixes on an IMDb. But going into the 2015, which they couldn't even come up
Do we
with a
have
cool
to?
movie title. They put fan for astic tastic whatever. Just the stupidest iteration of how they made that name. But Fantastic Four 2015, 9% Rotten Tomatoes score and 4.3 IMDb. When did you see that movie?
I accidentally watched it on streaming, and I'm sad that I did.
How long ago?
Uh, not something I could do all day. So it's been a while, but I remember just trying to understand why in an age when like there are really good superhero movies out there did this get made?
So, in its defense, the cast is pretty good. The cast itself is pretty good. It was meant to be more of like a gritty, darker Fantastic Four, and I guess the studio kind of vetoed everything. So it was like a big amalgamation of the studio, the director, the writers, and then like, none of this is really working. So let's just mash it all together. And so that's kind of what happened with that movie. But Miles Teller went on to Top Gun. You also have Michael B. Jordan in there, and Kate Mara also was pretty steady with work in a lot of TV.
Don't forget your
Not
boy Tim Blake Nelson was in this too.
he was.
Yeah, as Dr. Allen.
I don't even know who Dr. Allen is. I totally
Yeah.
forgot about that character in the movie. But who's the thing? Jamie Bell. Jamie Bell was an interesting take on the thing. I wish he would have gotten another shake at playing that because I liked his character and how they portrayed it. Yeah, Chickless was cool in the practical suit, and you know he made it like oh it's the big lovable thing rock dude. Um, Toby Kebbell, or I'm sorry, not Toby Kebbell, but Jamie Bell, his portrayal of it was like, oh, dude, he's a freaking badass. This thing is an freaking juggernaut, if you will. And so that's what I was kind of excited about. It's like, okay, cool. At least we're gonna see some really good action sequences with the thing, and he is literally gonna just clobber in time for an hour 45, however long the movie was. And there's very little action in that movie. So as one could guess, me being the action buff, Fantastic Four in 2015, I was very disappointed. The fact that there was no action and very little use of their powers. I think the very end fight is less than 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's where most comic book movies like, all right, we got to ramp it up for like this last 30-minute action sequence or whatever, that final boss battle is going to be. Uh, it's certainly not 5 minutes. So that's where I'm like, ew, ugh.
I
Almost kind
think
of brings up like Captain America when he fought the Hulk lasted longer than 5 minutes. So it's just disappointing to see a movie that has the potential to have good action with good, interesting characters of different powers and everything, and then it goes to shit.
yeah. This may have been the worst Fox Marvel movie since Elektra.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say like Daredevil and Elektra were pretty bad, but you forget you also have Ghost Rider, and so there's some people that liked the Ghost Rider
I don't
movies,
think
but
Ghost
is it?
Rider was Fox, was it?
I want to say it was. I mean, who
I mean,
else
it
would it
had
be?
Nicolas Cage in it. How could it be bad?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if it was more spectacle that like, oh, Nicolas Cage kind of just acted crazy and yeah. There's more people that I heard like, oh, Ghost Rider's actually not bad than people saying that it sucked. So I don't remember the movies. I didn't like them all that
It was
much.
Columbia.
Was it really?
Yeah,
Huh, okay.
Columbia Pictures.
Maybe that's why he wasn't in Deadpool and Wolverine. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd like to defend these movies, but at the same time, that last Fantastic Four movie just was awful. It was shit. It was a big shit sandwich with the side of shit.
Yeah. Yeah. It was one of the reasons that Fox doesn't do Marvel movies anymore.
All right, so what about the things that Martha you for those movies? Is there any outstanding Martha moments?
I feel like when they redid it in the 2015 version, they did the Bruce Wayne thing again. It's like, why tell the same story again? Can we make it better? Can we change it up? Can we do something? And then to your point, they did a lot of hot action, but they didn't get into the powers. And the dynamic wasn't there. The fun dynamic wasn't there. At least the first ones. Like Chris Evans was funny and
Yeah.
Chickless was kooky thing. There was at least depth to that actor. Like, no offense to Billy Elliot, but come on, man.
But who's Billy Elliot?
The guy who played the Thing played Billy Elliot.
Oh, okay. Oh, so the isn't that's a movie, right? Billy Elliot?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Got it.
About a ballet dancing little boy.
Probably why I didn't know who it was or what it was about. So yeah.
Tom
If that
Holland played it on Broadway, baby.
if
Or
that
in the
little
West End.
boy
In the West End.
yeah, if that little boy had a 12 gauge shotgun, I probably would know the movie that you were talking about, but
Boomstick.
does not ring a bell to me. So Jamie Bell, apparently. Oh gosh. Yeah, for the thing that marthaed me was Galactus as a cloud. I was expecting this big motherfucker that was going to take over the world. And we're going to get a chance to see that supposedly in the
Doesn't
new
look that
Fantastic
big from the
Four.
previews. A little worried about scale.
Really? I mean, the fucking huge ass head in a city? You don't think that
I,
that's
I
big?
really hope I really hope they get it. It needs to be
Yeah.
Eternals Island big.
The problem with that though is that like how do you defeat someone that big? That's where like there's an issue with it's not believable. Like, I remember a it was a comic book panel to where Captain America is like punching this 250-foot Galactus in the face. I was like, what the fuck is this about? Like, the picture itself looked cool, but I'm just like, this isn't believable. Captain America's gonna get squashed like a freaking ant, and I'm a big Cap fan. So that's I take I'm okay with taking liberties on Galactus because you have to nerf him somehow. He's just way too big, way too powerful to really have anyone pose a legitimate threat against him, in my opinion. But yeah, if you put him as a cloud, I don't want him nerfed that much that he's precipitation. So it was bad. I can't stand that part of the movie. I don't know if there's anything else that really stood out to me other than majority of the 2015 Fantastic Four movie. I can't even say it Martha'd me. I was just like, ugh. Do I have to watch it? Do I have to finish it? Why did they do it this way? Why didn't they do it that way? Why couldn't they gel as a cast and have fun with what they're doing? It seemed like it was just painful to shoot.
And again, to your point, like Michael B. Jordan, Miles Teller, Kate Mara, how could this go wrong? It it did. So that's why I look at the new Fantastic Four, the one that's coming, and I have bated
So
breath.
so based off of what you know, are you trying to stay spoiler free? Have you heard any of the rumors about what the storyline is going to be or any other
I'm doing my
iterations of
darndest to stay spoiler free. I did watch the trailer in IMAX giganticness when I went to see Captain America. So I was exposed to that, but I'm living in that new world, living spoiler free, baby. It helped with
Okay.
Captain America. It did. I didn't have these crazy expectations, and I liked it.
What do you want from the new Fantastic Four movie?
Something I'll watch more than once. That'll tie in to the rest of the MCU. I want something I don't expect, but I don't expect much at this point.
So you should be happy with it.
I should and are two different phrases, my friend.
Do you like the whole idea that it's kind of taking place in an older time period?
I don't know how they're going to connect it to the present yet, so I don't have a good answer. Because as we've traveled the multiverse so far into madness, we have yet to meet but one Reed Richards.
I'm wondering if there's going to be multiple Reed Richards in this story. There's a few rumors that are going around, but I don't know if that's gonna like the Council of Reeds, if that's gonna just like there's a Council of Kangs, the
The
Council of
Citadel of
Reeds.
Ricks, yeah.
Yeah, it's I'm wondering if that's gonna be a future like during the Doomsday Avengers Doomsday or whatever they're fucking calling it.
They're apparently bringing everybody back for that.
I mean, there's so many fucking rumors out there that I don't know what to believe in. I have no idea what to believe in now.
You
So
know what?
it's
I'm
like,
just
okay,
sad.
yeah, Henry Cavill's in it. James Daniel Craig as James Bond is in it. Like it's too much. Like who's in it? And like they're announcing so many different people that are like like oh, so and so is coming back for Avengers Doomsday, and they're going to be a key player. Like, are
When
they?
they
Are they
back up the
really?
money truck, they even get Evans.
Yeah, yeah. Well, supposedly he's confirmed for it, but he's also gone on record saying that he's done with Captain America. So obviously he could be lying, but at the same time, like, geez, man, if he is not in it, and all those people that are excited to see him in it go to see the movie thinking that Chris Evans is in it as Hydra, Captain America, or whatever you want to call it. It's going to be rough. It's going to be a rough year for comic book fans because there's so much great source material and things that they can pull from that people already have these great ideas of how they think the movies are going to go. And I just don't know. I just
Yeah,
don't know what's going to happen.
Marvel fans are turning into Star Wars fans, and it's really getting scary out there.
It's ugly, man. It is
It
fucking for
is.
sure ugly. As a Marvel
It,
fan myself, I did not, I couldn't do Captain America Brave New World all day. So I don't know. Have I turned to the dark side? Am I going to be kind of pissy at every fucking Marvel movie that comes out? I hope not. I hope I'm pretty positive, but we'll see.
but speaking of every Marvel movie that's come out, uh, I think we're both at least looking forward to this Fantastic Four movie, which is good. But as we look back, and as we have a habit of doing on this show, we should give the people what they want.
It's time for a ranking, everyone. We started this podcast with an epic ranking of the Spider-Man films. Now we're going to go to a not so epic ranking of the Fantastic Four films. And by the way, One of the Fantastic Four movies we did not really talk about, and that's I can't remember what year it was, but it was the Roger Corman Fantastic Four movie that was never meant to be released. They shot it, and there's like a few bootleg cuts that are out there. Have you ever seen that?
I have not. I do enjoy Roger Corman, but I have not seen his Fantastic Foe.
I have not either. I've seen the documentary about it, and poor cast that they were like so hell-bent on making this movie good, and it was just a shit fest. Like no one told them. No one told them that it's like, yeah, just so you know, this movie's not going to see the light of day. And
Is that
they
like
shot it with all
Wile E.
their heart.
Coyote versus Acme, which is supposedly amazing?
No, because they strictly made the movie to keep the rights of the Fantastic Four. They had no intention of releasing it. So that's where the difference is. They had for Wiley, what was the movie? Is the movie called like Acme, whatever the fuck it's called? But yeah, there's that Wile E. Coyote movie that Warner Brothers shot, and they're not releasing it, so they're just taking
Yeah.
the write off for it. So I just don't understand the logic in that because I feel like yes, you can do it as a write off, but does that bar it from ever being released? Is that how that works?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, well, I guess that was simple enough. So, all right then.
Maybe in 20 years they'll release it. Maybe it'll be like the the Schumacher cut. Maybe we'll get the Schumacher cut, and then maybe 10 years down the line we'll get Will Forte and John Cena in Acme versus the Coyote or whatever.
I feel like that movie's good, but yeah. But back to the Corman Fantastic Four movie, never meant to be released. They did see, or they did release, like the bootleg cut of, so it's floating around somewhere. So maybe I'll try and scour the internet, maybe find it on YouTube or
Dude,
something.
that's a
But
watch along right there.
yeah, maybe. But then it's like we're watching like a bootleg cut on the podcast. I don't know. Maybe. Maybe not. I don't know if we support those types of illegal activities of bootlegging. I never did that when I was younger. I never did
Never,
Napster or
never,
LimeWire or Kazaa or
never.
Morpheus
The only
or any of
Morpheus
those.
I know was in the Matrix.
Yeah. The only Morpheus I knew is the one that I had to delete off my computer because it wasn't working anymore. So I went over to Kazaa. But yeah, so let's do this ranking. All right, so the obviously the Roger Corman one we're not going to do. I think it's a pretty easy ranking. So
I
Mark,
think
I think
it may be the easiest ranking we've ever done.
I think we're in agreement with all the picks too.
Straight up and down, baby. Should
Yeah,
we go from worst to first?
yeah, sure, why not? So
Oh,
let's talk about that Fantastic Four 2015 movie.
oh, it was so bad.
It's not good.
It
There
was
were some
so
bright
bad.
spots.
It was so bad that Michael B. Jordan got recast in a better role.
Yeah. I will say I did like Miles Teller's portrayal of Reed Richards a little bit more than I expected to because he
12 year
plays like
old
that.
Reed Richards.
Say it again.
12-year-old Reed Richards because it was skinny, clean shaven Miles Teller, not jacked Top Gun Miles Teller.
Well, I mean, we don't want a jacked Reed Richards, like that
We don't
doesn't
want a
make any sense.
12-year-old Reed Richards either.
Yeah, but they were all super young, so like that. There's another problem with the movie, right? Like you send high school kids out into space, essentially.
I think
Um,
Kate Mara was the oldest one.
yeah, yeah, but I don't know, man. Like that, I will say the bright spot was Miles Teller and gosh, what's his name? Jamie Bell. Jamie Bell as the thing. I like their dynamic. I like the fact they were kind of boys, and I believed in that friendship. That was the only thing that I really liked about the movie is the fact that I believed in their friendship, and Ben goes kind of like mercenary for hire for the government or used by the government as like this just ass kicker, and everyone feels bad for him, and like Reed is he feels responsible for him. So it doesn't play out as well as the other
You
movies,
think?
but at the same time, at least there's something that's somewhat of a silver lining for that movie.
At least they all had matching suits.
Did they though?
I don't even know.
No, they didn't.
I know
Because the thing went full barnyard animal. He had no
yeah.
clothes at all.
I I'm I was making it funny. They couldn't even match the suits.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So yeah, that's the worst, right? Anything else you want to say about that movie?
I think that we're wasting precious time. That
Yeah.
people could do other things if we talk more about it.
Let's talk about the second shittiest movie, and that's Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. So that's number two on our list
Number
of three
two.
movies.
Number two with a silver bullet, baby.
Galactus was in it as a cloud, so that's a
You know,
wash.
there's a cloud. There's a cloud, like the Rick and Morty cloud, but not.
I did like Silver Surfer in it. I thought that was like a cool iteration of, and
The
how
special
they
effects on Silver Surfer were great.
yeah, yeah, I thought that was solid. I had really no complaints about that considering the time and considering that the studio wasn't I mean, yeah, it was a box office bomb. They wanted it to do well, but I don't know if they were expecting like Endgame numbers, you know what I mean? So
There weren't
I
anything
based off
like
of
Endgame numbers at the time.
yeah,
Superhero
based off
movies
of
didn't
what
make
they
money.
had. It was as serviceable as it could be. So I was happy with that. But the overall, we didn't talk about Julian McMahon as Victor Von Doom. I'm a big Nip Tuck fan. Dr. Christian Troy is like just one of the most fascinating and funny characters in FX TV series history. But him as Doctor Doom worked for me, but at the same time, in the second movie, Doctor Doom ends up being buddy buddy with everyone, and like that was I don't know. I
Why
I'm a
can't
I
we be
like
friends?
I like a villain being a good guy for the time being, just to basically like hey, you're gonna serve its purpose by us teaming up and everything, but I'm still a badass motherfucker, and I just didn't get that from him, and so that's why yeah, the movie kind of sucks, but
Yeah,
Silver
it
Surfer
was
was good.
very much in the realm of Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, where we're like,
I Batman Forever is I don't think I ever saw it as much as the 1989 Batman, but I saw it the most in theaters. I think I saw that movie in theaters like 6 times. The dollar theaters, but still solid.
R.I.P. Harlem Quarters.
Bremen Bremen Township or Bremen theaters over by me, with that just for fun arcade before you go
Love it.
see a movie or after. So much fun.
Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Which brings us to number one.
To something that we love. Well, no, we don't love it, but it's the best out of this list.
It's the
That
best
is,
poop. It's
yeah,
the
the
best poop.
2005 Fantastic Four.
No surprise here. Solely on the performance of Chris Evans and hilarity with fire.
Chickless did all right. I I'm
Chicklets
not a
did all
big
right.
I'm not a big Chickless thing fan, but you felt bad for the guy.
And
I
there was
will say
banter.
yeah, he did a good job with emoting his sadness is the thing. It's
Yeah,
like,
they
oh,
really glued that rubber down so it could really feel the whole face.
yeah. But it was, it's a if I could compare it to something that I consume, I would probably say it is like an episode of a cartoon that you really liked. And if it's on, you'll watch it. It's like, oh, I remember this. But you're not seeking it out. That's exactly my
Yeah.
my ranking for that particular movie. Even though it's the best one, I'm not seeking it out to watch it. I'm just gonna be like, oh, that's I remember that. That was kind
Yeah,
of fun. Oh,
that's a really great comparison. Not something you're stoked to show your kid. And be like, "Oh, you'll love this cartoon." Be
yeah.
like, "Oh, that was on."
Yeah. Do I only have the Fantastic Four DVD? I guess we'll watch that. Like that's kind of like you're a
Yeah.
victim of circumstance. It's like,
Yeah.
I guess we'll watch this. That's the only DVD that we have that's not scratched up as shit. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Um I yeah, I
So
don't
I think we have a message here. I think we have a message for Marvel and a hopeful message to our podcast listeners. Uh, it can only, I mean, how bad could it be? How bad could the new one be?
if it got worse, Marvel has severe problems.
Where
They
it's
have
over,
like
baby. It's over.
incredible
But it's
problems.
got Pedro in it. I can't think of a
Yeah.
bad thing I've seen lately with Pedro Pascal. With Danny
Yeah,
Page.
I'm a fan of his, and I like Vanessa Kirby. Excuse me, I like Vanessa Kirby. I wasn't a big fan of the Hobbs and Shaw movie, but at the same time, I like her presence and how she carries herself. She's a force to be reckoned with. Just the way that she acts and the way that her aura and her demeanor is in acting scenes, I'm in. And if she, based off of what I saw from the Sue Storm Power little preview that we had in the theater, I was just like, okay, cool. They're finally doing the Invisible Woman's powers right. It's not just completely invisible. There's some spectrums of light going through there, and she looked badass in the suit doing it. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we will get a badass Sue Storm in this movie. And I love Joseph Quinn from Stranger Things, and so I'm hoping he brings the funny as Johnny Storm because we need like a good him and an Eben Moss Backrack. If I said his name, is that even his name? Yeah, Backrack. Any relation to Burt Backrack? Because I feel like he should
Ladies
be
and gentlemen,
Mr. What the world needs now is some love, sweet love. But yeah, Eben Moss from The Bear, hilarious. And I like the fact that they're keeping his voice. He's not like thugging it up, trying to like, talking like Chickless as like a big ogreish thing. I like that there's still some humanity in his voice. And he talks like himself. He's not trying to pull a Christian Bale Batman and just that's I like that. And I think we're gonna be surprised at even Moss Backrack as the thing. I think he'll steal the show because I
really?
feel like he will be that guy that'll be both the comedic relief, but he can emote and make us feel something for Ben Grimm. And I mean, really, the glue of the Fantastic Four is the thing. We just haven't gotten a chance to see enough of it because in the other movies they were trying to establish everyone with their powers. But Ben Grimm is the glue for that group, both in the comics and I think how it should be in the movies. So hopefully, fingers crossed once again, that is going to happen.
Hey, I love that you went out the limb and said that Danny Pedro wasn't going to be the star of the show.
No, no, not. I said he. I mean, will he be the star? Sure, I guess. But Ben Grimm, I'm saying it here today. Even Moss Backrack, he will steal the show. He will be the star of the Fantastic Four First Steps movie because we said it on this podcast, and I'm sticking to it.
Hey, I hope you're right. I don't think you are, but hey, whatever, man. We're going to
Would
go
you
see
care to
another
put
Marvel
a
movie.
Would you care to put a wager on it?
Ooh, a wager. What kind of wager?
Oh, you know how it is. Something about like, I mean, it'll have to be the honor system. If you think that someone was a for sure standout from the Fantastic Four besides the Thing, then you win.
No, I got Danny Pedro all day.
Yeah, no. I yeah, it's gonna be the Thing. The motherfucker looks like the Thing.
Yeah. Looks like we got a wager on our hands.
We
Listeners,
do.
chime in. Let us know. Are you with Daddy? Are you team uh team Daddy Pedro, or is it hashtag thing yes?
I
Hashtag Danny thing yes.
I guess we'll with that hashtag that's an awful that's an awful way to win. But yeah, that's it for our Fantastic Four episode. We ranked them, we talked about them, we shit on them, but we will not shit on the new one, or maybe we will. We'll have
Fingers
to wait out
crossed.
for that next episode. But until then, I'm Dan the Part-Time Avenger. That's Mark the Resident Jedi.
Remember to like, subscribe, hit us up on all the socials at I Can Do This All Day podcast everywhere you find us. And I really hope this isn't as bad as the last one.
And if it is, just hit those comments. Flame on.
Don't forget, hashtag Danny Think Yes.